My partner took my inheritance and left me. What they didn't know about my lawyer changed everything. Standing in the grand entrance of his mansion, I felt like a ghost wandering through my own personal hell. Waves of laughter crashed against me, the shrieks of joy mixing with my suffocating despair. Each note of merriment stung like a vicious slap. I clenched my fists, trying to block out the sight of him, smug and radiant, wrapped around his new fiancée. Rolling out our shared dreams like a red carpet, betrayal radiated through me, thick and poisonous. I had trusted him. In my mind, I could still see each blueprint I designed, each dream I'd built with him. And now they lay in ruins. The walls that had once embraced our aspirations now felt like a cold prison. I thought I could escape through. Memories, but they only anchored me deeper into this nightmare. Then, the night twisted when I saw it. My family heirloom, a delicate pendant passed down for generations, now dangling from his neck. He waved it around, laughing, as if it were a trophy for a game I didn't know I was playing. My heart raced, the cold fire igniting in my chest, burning my insides. How could he flaunt something so precious? It felt like acid, corroding every tender memory of us. How dare he? Rage clashed with humiliation, leaving me trembling. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but silence wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket. I was standing in the ruins of my past, watching a twisted celebration that should have been mine. I forced my breath through clenched teeth, making a silent vow. He would pay for this. The party pressed on around me. I slipped away into the shadows, the weight of despair hanging heavy. I needed a plan. I needed revenge. That's when I thought of Clara, my old friend, a razor-sharp lawyer who always had a way of bending the rules. There was a whisper of mystery in her past, a connection to my late father that always intrigued me. Could she help me reclaim what's rightfully mine? The promise of vengeance began to take shape. Guided by Clara's cunning mind, I found myself weaving through a tangled web of deceit. Each whispered suggestion felt like a spark fanned into flames. But doubts crept in. How far was I willing to go? Was I really in control, or had this thirst for retribution already consumed me? Just as I started sketching my revenge, a chilling message pinged on. My phone, freezing the blood in my veins, a hidden treachery lurked, one I could never have anticipated. Suddenly, I was a pawn in a game I didn't even know I was a part of. It left a seeping question in my mind. Do I truly know my enemies? And at what cost will my retribution come? Hey, before we continue with this story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. And hey, if you like being the first to know and don't want to miss a thing, I have something special for you. You can join our premium story group where you get early access to all videos, exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, and the chance to watch everything without ads. It's like having a VIP pass to the most intense and emotional stories before anyone else sees them. To join, just head down to the comments, click the special link, follow the steps, and start enjoying all the exclusive stuff. Don't wait too long. Spots are limited, and this is the best way to really dive deep into the stories you love. Just as I started sketching my revenge, a chilling message pinged on my phone, freezing the blood in my veins. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, as I read the words that sent shivers down my spine. We need to talk about Clara. The message came from an unknown number, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. Clara? Why? The party noise dulled around me, a distant hum. I could barely breathe. The thought of my ally, my only hope for reclaiming what was mine, being pulled into a mess I didn't even understand, twisted my gut. What did this stranger know? I stepped away from the laughter, the joy, into the dark embrace of the hallway. My mind raced, heart hammering. Who was this? There was an urgency to my thoughts, a gnawing fear that wrapped itself around me, making it harder to think straight. I typed back, "Who is this? What do you want?" My hands shook as I hit send. Silence stretched out forever, until my phone buzzed again. Meet me at the old pier, midnight. No name, no reason, just a demand that sent a rush of dread and curiosity coursing through me. I felt like a moth drawn to a flame, but this flame looked dangerous. With a glance back at the party, I saw him again, my ex's laughter ringing in my ears, ringing hollow now. The weight of betrayal pressed down like a suffocating blanket. I had to go. This could change everything. Slipping into the shadows, I made my way around the back of the mansion and to my car. Each step felt heavy, filled with foreboding. The drive to the pier felt unreal. The roads blurred, headlights glancing off a world I no longer recognized. I pushed through my doubts, navigating the tight knots in my stomach. I arrived just as the clock struck midnight, the moon glowering down like a silent witness. Fog rolled in thick, swallowing the pier in a damp embrace. I stepped out of my car, my breath hitching in my throat. Heart racing, I squinted into the darkness. My phone buzzed again. "You're late." And then, out of the shadows, Clara emerged. My relief was short-lived. Something was off. She looked different. Her eyes were hard, glinting like sharpened glass. Fear and confusion churned in my stomach. "What's going on? You sent for me?" But before she could reply, a figure stepped out behind her. My breath caught. It was him, my ex. The sight of his cocky smirk made me see red. "What the hell are you doing here?" I gasped, backing away. But Clara responded before he could speak. "You always were too trusting," she said, her voice cold and sharp. "Did you really think I'd help you after everything?" The air grew thick with tension as the pieces clicked into place. My best friend, my only ally, she'd been playing me the whole time. My heart plunged into darkness. Betrayal cut deeper than I thought it could. I spun to run, but arms grabbed me, holding me tight. "Where do you think you're going?" My ex chuckled, stepping closer, his eyes glinting with malice, the very picture of victory. I was trapped. My skin felt like ice. "You don't have to do this," I pleaded, desperation flooding my voice. "Clara, why?" And then came the bombshell, the words that shattered everything. "Because it's not just your inheritance I have. It's yours and my father's together. I needed you to lead me to it all along." The ground beneath me felt like it was crumbling. A hidden past, a betrayal born from greed that intertwined us in ways I had never imagined. I was breathing hard, feeling the world tilt around me. I stood there, heart racing, locked in their grasp, unraveling in disbelief. Could this be true? How had I missed it? Shadows closed in on me, leaving only questions. Who could I trust? Was I even safe now? As they laughed, the sinister sound echoing in the dark, a storm of doubt swallowed me whole. I was left breathless, standing at the edge of a chasm I had unknowingly walked into, teetering on the brink of despair. What was my next move? The night taunted me with silence, hanging heavy with uncertainty and betrayal. The night draped around me like a suffocating cloak, as Clara and my ex closed in, their laughter a cruel symphony mocking my pain. My heart pounded in my chest, ringing like an alarm I couldn't silence. Trapped in a nightmare I never signed up for, I tried to grasp the fragments of a plan that had just shattered. "What do you want from me?" I gasped, the words barely making it out through the knot tightening in my throat. Clara stepped closer, her smile a mask of malice that twisted my stomach into furious knots. "Everything you have," she said, her tone dripping with ice, and more. Panic surged through me, but the truth weighed heavier than fear. I backed away, instinctively trying to put distance between us. I couldn't let them take more. My mind flashed to the pendant. What had it brought me besides heartache? Hadn't it always been a curse? "Get away from me," I shouted, desperate. But breath left my lungs as my back hit the railing at the edge of the pier. I stood on the knife's edge, waves lapping hungrily below. A cold reminder of what I could lose if I fell. Clara's expression twisted, fury igniting in her eyes. "You think you're better than me? You're just a stepping stone in this game." She turned to my ex, her voice suddenly sweet. "Right, darling?" He chuckled darkly. "You always knew she was too naive to see the bigger picture." My fists clenched. This isn't over. The words tasted of defiance, but I felt small. The betrayal cut deep, and I was teetering on the brink of despair. "Isn't it?" Clara taunted, pulling something from her pocket. A flash of metal gleamed in the darkness, and I instinctively flinched. It was a small blade, sharp, glinting, danger embodied. My heart raced, fear squeezing tight. "Stomp!" I screamed. I couldn't let her shatter me completely, but she advanced, her face twisted into a mask of hatred. "You have no idea what you're playing with." Suddenly, a thunderous noise erupted, echoing down the pier. My head snapped to the shadows, and I felt a primal urge to flee. The ground shook beneath me, and I stumbled. Clara and my ex turned toward the sound, confusion mingling with fear. Then, without warning, there was a crash, a truck barreling down the pier, its lights blinding as it careened toward us. I barely had time to react before the vehicle hit the railing, sending splinters flying. My heart dropped as the barrier splintered, the impact sending a shockwave through the air. Clara's eyes went wide with horror. "What the hell?" And then, everything exploded in chaos. The truck crashed through, barely missing her, but sending debris spiraling. Screams merged with the roar of the engine. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a fight-or-flight instinct ticking in. In that split second, I turned to run, driven by adrenaline. But then I heard Clara scream again, and I paused. The world slowed to a crawl when time stopped. A flash of movement. My ex reached for Clara, but the force of the vehicle sent her tumbling to the edge, fading into darkness. "No!" I rushed forward, but the weight of what happened hit me like a tidal wave. The earth shook once more, and my breath caught in my throat as the realization squeezed. My heart, Clara was gone. But then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, the screen lighting up, and froze. The message read, "This isn't over. You're next." A darkness washed over me, colder than the night air. Every instinct screamed to run, but who was I running from? Clara's betrayal? The hollow laughter of my ex? This threatening message? I was trapped in a storm, with nowhere to go. All at once, the air grew thick with uncertainty. What had just happened? Had Clara known too much? Had I been the pawn all along? I looked over the edge of the pier into the depths below, my heart racing in a cacophony of dread and disbelief. I thought I saw something moving just beneath the surface, shimmering, taunting me. Was it over, or was it just beginning? The darkness felt like a living thing wrapping around me as I stood there, staring into the abyss. My heart pounded, its beat drowning out the chaos behind me. Clara was gone. One moment full of rage and treachery, the next an echo dissolving into the night. I turned, ready to bolt, but the weight of dread clamped down hard. My phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with a new message. "You're next." The words hung in the air, sinister and sticky, like a spider's web. Who was threatening me? Was it my ex, Clara, or someone else entirely? The uncertainty gnawed at my insides. Panic surged through me, making every nerve feel alive, electric. I glanced back at the pier. My ex stood there, a shadow in the dim light, still reeling from the chaos. I should have fled, but instead, I was rooted to the spot, my breath coming in shallow gasps. Then I saw the figure emerging from the fog, someone else. My heart skipped. It was my brother, Mark. He'd been missing for months. I thought he was lost to me, Just another ghost haunting my life. But now, he strode toward me, a thing formed from my nightmares. His face was sharp, angry, and twisted. "Why are you here?" I shouted, the words bursting out, raw and hoarse. Everything about him felt wrong, like a stranger wearing a familiar mask. In his eyes was a storm, a deep rage brewing. "You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't have come." "I came for what's mine too," he said, his voice smooth yet twisted, like a blade sliding between ribs. "You thought you could just take everything, didn't you? You're just as greedy as—" "Clara," I shook my head, confusion washing over me. "What are you saying?" "The inheritance," he spat. "You think you're the only one who deserves it? I have a stake in this too." Suddenly, the understanding crashed over me like ice water. It jolted through my veins. Clara's betrayal hadn't just been hers. My brother had been complicit all along. They must have made a pact, a conniving alliance, stealing my future right from under me. "I can't believe this. You betrayed me." My voice turned into a strangled whisper, cutting deeper than any knife. Mark stepped closer. My world spun at the heat radiating from him. "Betrayed? You're the one who was blind, taking what was never yours. You never saw the bigger picture. A family has a legacy, and you thought you could claim it single-handedly." I was reeling, my thoughts crashing like waves in a storm. "But why? Why betray your own blood?" "Because it's your fault," he snarled, taking another step closer. "You had the chance to keep our family together. You're the reason we fell apart. You chose this, not me. I'm done playing nice. I'm taking what's rightfully mine. And if that means taking you down, so be it." The words sliced through me. Every moment of trust I thought we shared turned to ash in my mouth. I was frantic, trying to absorb this new reality, the betrayal stinging deep. I took a step back, but he lunged forward, grabbing my arm tight enough to leave bruises. Before I could react, a sudden crash blasted through the air. The truck. I turned just in time to see the disaster unfold, rubble splintering apart, and chaos erupting. I screamed, but my voice was drowned out. Mark had pulled me close, shielding me, but I pushed him away, refusing to be an anchor to his storm. "Let go of me," I shouted, but he tightened his grip, eyes blazing. "You think escaping is the answer?" Desperation clawed at me. I fought to break free, anything to escape the chains he forged. But then I heard it, a voice from the shadows that sent chills down my spine. "Too late for that, sis." I froze. It was Clara, back somehow untouched by the chaos. "You just made your final mistake," she said, a cruel smile splitting her face. The glint of something shiny flashed in her hand. A gun. Everything stood still. The air crackled with tension, thick and suffocating. I stared, bewildered. My brother's face was twisted into a smirk, knowing now that he wasn't alone. In this act of treachery, my body surged with fear. "No." Clara raised the weapon, aimed right at me. "Let's see how brave you are now." My heart thundered. The world shrank to that moment. The barrel of that gun. Every shred of loyalty, every bond shattered. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. Who was really my enemy? The gun clicked, and in that instant, everything fractured into darkness. I would never know what came next. The question echoing in my mind as my vision blurred was, who can I trust? And the answer was too horrific to bear. The gun's muzzle glinted like a snake poised to strike, and my heart thundered wildly in my chest. Clara's eyes locked onto mine, sharp and calculating. "Let's see how brave you are now," she hissed, resentment spilling from her lips like venom. I stood immobilized, trapped between fear and disbelief, every instinct screaming for me to run. But then there came a loud crash, a sound that split the tense air like thunder. A dark figure barreled down the pier. My brother Mark flinched, pulling me closer. I could sense the madness in his grip. The crashing sound was from a truck, heavy and chaotic, smashing through barrels and sending debris flying like shattered dreams. My mind raced as I glimpsed a sudden glint in the darkness. Another weapon? And it hit me, all at once, like a sledgehammer to the gut. The truck wasn't an accident. It was a distraction. My pulse quickened with cold realization. We were playing in a game far bigger than I had ever imagined. Just then, a voice sliced through the chaos, low, sarcastic. "Sad to see you like this, sis. I thought you were smarter." The shadows parted and a familiar face stepped out. Another face from my past. It was Ethan, my father's old business partner, a man I hadn't seen since the family fell apart. But he looked different, darker, filled with a statement that twisted my stomach. His eyes narrowed, a knowing gleam catching the light. "You've opened Pandora's box, haven't you?" "Ethan?" I stammered, the question dripping with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" He shrugged, waving a dismissive hand. I had to see the fallout. "You really thought you could take all this on by yourself? That inheritance? You're not the only heir here." His words hit with the force of a freight train. Each syllable crashed into my reality, splintering my perception of who I thought I could trust. Clara's face morphed into pure venom. "You said he was gone," she spat at Mark, venomous betrayal flowing through her voice. "You promised he wouldn't interfere. I thought you could handle this." "I thought so too, but now we're in deeper than I planned," he snarled, his grip on me tightening further. The tension was suffocating. Ethan stepped forward, a sinister grin stretching across his face. "You've both underestimated what this family is worth," he said, "and the chaos it's wrought. There are secrets hidden, buried in the legacy, and you," he pointed at me, "you're at the center of it all." "What do you mean?" My voice was shaky, thick with confusion. Every breath felt like it could be my last, crushing the last bit of hope I had. "Oh, you have no idea," he laughed, a cruel, chilling sound. "Your precious inheritance? It's more than just money. Darling, it's also blood." The world swirled as I struggled to comprehend his words. My family wasn't just fractured. It was fundamentally flawed, steeped in dark emotions and hidden truths. Then the truth struck like lightning. I was standing on quicksand, with every bond that I thought solid now crumbling beneath my feet. "Blood?" I whispered, disbelief coursing through me. "Yes," he smirked. "Your lineage doesn't just trace back to wealth. There are alliances, debts, even betrayals that run deep. And those who think they own it all usually don't know who's really in charge. The question you should ask is, who are you, really?" Suddenly, the gun aimed at me shifted. Clara wasn't pointing it at me anymore. She aimed it right at Ethan, tension crackling in the air, like static electricity before a storm. "You won't take her. Not now. Not ever." But in that moment, Clara's grip faltered. With a sudden burst, Valentine, their co-conspirator who had been lurking in the shadows, rushed forward. I heard shouts. Confusion erupted. Clara staggered back, and the gun went off, firing wildly into the air. Panic flooded me. I spun, my heart a thunderous drum. Was it aimed at me? A bullet grazing my shoulder sent a scream tumbling from my lips, a sharp, hot pain bursting forth. I stumbled back, suddenly exposed, and Clara's face transformed from malice to horror. "Not like this," she shouted, but it was too late. The line was drawn, and blood would spill, whether mine or theirs. I could feel everything crashing around me. My brother's grip loosened. I turned, desperate for a way out, as everything spiraled into chaos. Darkness loomed over the pier, filling my lungs with dread. And then I felt it, a sharp pain in my side, an unrelenting twist. Betrayal echoed around me, louder than any gunshot. I was caught in a storm, surrounded by those I had trusted most, while shadows lurked, waiting. I hardly had the strength to brace myself for what came next. Just as I took a step to run, everything darkened. My mind, my vision, my hope. I couldn't tell friend from foe, light from dark. I was left, breathless and broken, tumbling deeper, grappling with the shocking truth that in every choice I thought I made, I had really been just a pawn in a twisted game that was only beginning. The gun's muzzle glinted like a snake poised to strike, and my heart thundered wildly in my chest. Clara's eyes locked onto mine, sharp and calculating. "Let's see how brave you are now," she hissed, resentment spilling from her lips like venom. I stood immobilized, trapped between fear and disbelief, every instinct screaming for me to run. But then came a loud crash, a sound that split the tense air like thunder. A dark figure barreled down the pier. My brother, Mark, flinched, pulling me closer. I could sense the madness in his grip. The crashing sound was from a truck, heavy and chaotic, smashing through barrels and sending debris flying like shattered dreams. My mind raced as I glimpsed a sudden glint in the darkness. Another weapon? The vehicle wasn't an accident. It was a distraction. My pulse quickened with cold realization. We were playing in a game far bigger than I had ever imagined. Then, just like that, everything exploded into complete chaos. Clara swung the gun wildly, clearly unnerved. I ducked instinctively, adrenaline pumping through my veins. The bullet pierced the air above us, and I gasped, confused, horrified. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan reemerge from the shadows, his face twisted with a cruel smile. "You really think you're in charge here?" he taunted. "You've set off a chain reaction that you can't control." In that wild distraction, a sudden surge of urgency pushed me. I had to escape this nightmare. Mark swung me from his hold, just as Clara aimed again, but then she screamed, a sharp, blood-curdling cry as the truck veered wildly, slamming into the railing. I didn't know who to trust, but I knew I had to act fast. I dashed toward the edge of the pier, feeling the edge of sanity slip away. Waves crashing below, dark and angry. I spun around, desperate to find any semblance of safety. That's when I spotted it. The pendant, my family heirloom. The cursed thing dangled from my neck, forgotten in the chaos. I couldn't let it drag me down any further. I ripped it off, ready to toss it into the stormy depths below. But then, Clara lunged at me. Her scream pierced through the confusion. "You don't understand. That pendant, it's more than just jewelry. It holds secrets about our family, our real legacy." "Secrets?" My mind reeled. What secrets? But before she answered, there was a brutal impact. A body collided against mine, shoving me hard toward the edge of the pier. I teetered precariously, panic rising as I struggled to regain balance. In that moment, the truth hit me, sharper than bone. Falling into chaos might be my only escape. And then, without warning, Clara lunged at Ethan, gun drawn again. But something in me snapped. A primal urge to survive shot through my veins. The confrontation spiraled out of control, and suddenly a shot rang out once more, echoing in the night air. But it wasn't just the gun. There was a sudden flash of movement, and everything around me blurred. I gasped as I realized what was happening. Ethan dropped to the ground, caught off guard. Clara had shot him. What was she doing? But the shock didn't last long. The split second turned into an eternity as I turned to see Mark darting toward me, eyes wild and furious. "Get out of the way," he shouted. What followed was a brutal twist I could never have anticipated. Out of nowhere, another figure emerged. Valentine, the man I had seen briefly in the background before, coming straight for me with a murderous glint in his eyes. I tried to backpedal, but it was too late. He grabbed me hard, pulling me away from the chaos, and I screamed, "Let go of me," I shouted, fighting against his grip. But before I could process my next move, everything shattered. Another gunshot rang out, and I felt a sharp pain flare in my side. Everything went white. I stumbled, gasping, eyes wide in terror as I sensed something warm trickling down my shirt. I looked down, barely able to comprehend what had just happened. Clara, my supposed ally, had betrayed me, and all at once I knew there would be no way out of this. The piercing pain brought me crashing down to my knees, gasping for breath. Betrayal clawed at my insides, and the realization swept over me like cold water. "No, no, no, not like this," I cried, my voice breaking as I felt the darkness closing in. A chorus of screams surrounded me, muffling the chaos, drowning out every word of betrayal. Who could I trust? Who was really playing whom? As my vision dimmed, I could barely make out Clara's figure, a shadow against the light of the moon, cruel and smug. "Welcome to the family business," she whispered with a smirk, pulling deeper into the shadows. I felt myself slip into the abyss, questions swirling in my mind like fallen leaves. My heart raced with no direction, echoing the truth I now faced alone. What did I really know about my family? About Clara? About Mark? The dawning betrayal hung heavy as every familiar face turned dark, leaving me drowning in unanswered questions. Trapped in a storm where no one was what they seemed. The world around me dimmed, darkness closing in as I knelt on the cold pier, clutching my side where the pain radiated like wildfire. I was losing blood and my breath came in shallow gasps. But the panic only sharpened my focus. Voices echoed in the chaos, Clara shouting something into the night, and Mark's face twisted with confusion. Ethan lay still, agony etched across his features. "Enough!" Clara yelled, her voice rising over the chaos. I finally turned away from Ethan's crumpled body, the weight of betrayal crushing me. I felt like I was trapped beneath a pile of heavy stones, gasping for air. Why had Clara shot him? What game was she playing? Then, without warning, a figure rushed past me from the shadows. I caught a glimpse of Valentine's menacing silhouette barreling toward us, a dark predator in the night. My heart thrummed faster as Clara's gaze shifted to this new threat, her composure cracking like glass. The realization hit me all at once. We were not alone. "Clara, we need to go!" Mark shouted, but she was frozen, eyes locked on the approaching figure. Before I could react, Clara whipped around, the gun raised again. "Stay back!" she screamed, fear gripping her voice. I should have fled, but something held me there, every instinct tangled in confusion. Then it happened. Valentine lunged, and everything blurred into chaos. A swift, brutal movement as he grabbed the gun from Clara's hands. In one fluid motion, he pivoted, using her as a shield. "You should have known better," he spat, and a thunderclap of pain tore through my chest as he pulled the trigger, not at Clara, but at Mark, who stood helplessly nearby. Mark's expression twisted in shock, and the shot rang out, echoing in my ears like a funeral bell. Time slowed as I watched my brother reel back, blood erupting from his chest like a cruel fountain. I felt my gut churn, rage flooding my veins. "No!" The scream tore from my lips, drowning in the growing chaos. Mark collapsed, the world crashing in around him. I stumbled forward, heart pounding. "Why? Why did you do that?" I felt my legs give way, panic swallowing me whole. I never thought it would come to this. Betraying family, betraying everything. "Don't you get it?" Clara's voice snapped, sharp as glass. "This is about survival. It's always been about winning." Her eyes flared with manic desperation, tears mingling with pure fury. "You were never supposed to survive." "Survive?" I spat out, anger mixing with despair. "You turned everything into a game. But—" The weight of her words crashed down on my chest like a stone. This wasn't just about me. This was about a legacy that had been twisted beyond recognition. Valentine stepped forward, a predator circling its prey, and I stumbled back, adrenaline flooding my system. "What do you want?" I shouted, panic tipping my voice into a high pitch. "You've taken everything." Then I noticed the pendant in my trembling hands, limp against my chest. The heirloom I thought was a burden might hold a key. "You think I'm afraid of you?" I hissed, trying to find strength. "This isn't just a necklace, it's everything you want." I threw it to the ground, the clink resounding through the chaos. In that moment, the world fell silent. Clara's eyes went wide, glimmering with sudden interest. "What?" she whispered, the fury faltering. I took a desperate step forward, the heaviness of betrayal still weighing down on me. But in an instant, the shocking truth crashed into our midst. "It doesn't matter," Valentine bellowed, grabbing Clara and pulling her close, his eyes wild with calculated madness. "You're all just pawns. You don't even know whose game you're really playing." I felt my breath catch in my throat. The pieces were falling into place, but they formed a picture I didn't recognize. A web of deceit that wrapped tighter and tighter around my soul. What game? The world was shifting beneath my feet, and I was helpless in the storm, standing at the edge of a cliff where everything I thought I knew crumbled away. "Look at what you've become," Clara shouted, voice raw, pools of regret clouding her eyes. "You think you can just run? You can't escape who you really are." Her words cut deep. A secret. What had I missed? I felt the ground tilt, horror creeping through every nerve in my body. And then, the final blow struck. The crushing realization that made my heart sink like a stone. Valentine grinned, something dark sparking in his gaze. "You're not one of us, are you?" He leaned closer, whispers dancing between us. "That pendant, you thought it was your family's legacy? It's a key to a power greater than you can imagine." "Stop," I pleaded, but fear wrecked my voice, leaving nothing but panic. With a swift motion, he grabbed the pendant, holding it up before my shocked eyes. "Your lineage is tied to something much worse than you ever knew." I trembled as darkness loomed, a terrible truth closing in on me. My very identity was at stake, and the secrets were too terrible to comprehend. Betrayal, lies, and blood twisted together into an inescapable nightmare. And in that moment, as I stood frozen in a world descending into chaos, I was left to wonder, who really was the enemy? Where could I find trust? Was I ever safe? The answers slipped away like sand through my fingers, leaving me gasping for reason in a storm of unanswered questions. The weight of Valentine's words hung between us, thick with dread. "Your lineage is tied to something much worse than you ever knew." My heart raced, the pulse sounding like a drum in my ears. Panic clawed at my throat. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only grasp at the slipping tendrils of confusion. Clara stood frozen, her eyes flickering between anger and fear, uncertainty dripping from her every movement. "What do you mean?" she growled. Her hand tightened on the gun, knuckles white, but I could see the doubt creeping in. Valentine's sneer deepened, his eyes glinting with something cold and dark. "You really don't know the truth about her, do you?" He pointed at me, and the words were like ice shards piercing my already fractured reality. I stared at him, bewildered. "What are you talking about?" I stammered. My legs felt weak, ready to buckle beneath the weight of revelation coming from a man I barely trusted. But then it happened. Something shifted. A sound echoed from the dark beyond the pier. Suddenly, all eyes flicked over my shoulder. A car screeched loudly, tires whining as the headlights pierced the fog, creating a massive spotlight in the night. My breath quickened, but I didn't turn. "Don't you see?" Valentine continued, stepping closer. "She's not who you think she is. You've been played." Before I could wrap my head around what he was laying down, everything exploded. A massive green pickup truck stormed onto the pier, barreling straight toward us like a runaway train. "Get down!" Clara shouted, but it was too late. In an instant, the truck slammed into the railing, wood splintering and flying everywhere. Time seemed to warp. I stumbled back, trying to shield myself as the impact rattled my bones. Chaos erupted. Shrieks filled the air as debris rained down like confetti of despair. I saw Clara and Mark diving to avoid the wreckage, while Valentine stood grinning like a madman, unfazed by the carnage around him. I couldn't grasp the scene. The world blurred into a fever dream, and all I could hear was my heart pounding louder than the pulsing chaos. Then, before I could comprehend fully, I spotted figures sprinting out from the shadows of the truck. My heart sank as familiar faces emerged. My father's business associates, people I hadn't seen in years, faces I thought were buried in the past. Their eyes gleamed with malicious intent. They had come for vengeance. "No," I gasped, panic gripping my heart as I realized the storm wasn't just swirling around me. It was closing in, tightening its grip as if to crush my world. Valentine laughed, the sound sinister. "Did you think you could just waltz in and take what's ours?" They recognize your potential too. Every face in that gathering twisted from familiar into something grotesque. I felt them closing in, a pack of wolves circling, their intentions clear. Betrayal crushed down on me, suffocating in the fog. My family wasn't just tainted, it was a legacy of monsters, and I was standing at the center, an unwitting sacrifice. "Run," I shouted, desperate, but the wolves were at the door and I was trapped. The horror behind me lingered, unforgiving. Clara was moving again, scrambling for footing. I could only see her silhouette in a dance of danger. Then came a loud bang. Someone had brought a gun, and gunfire erupted, gunpowder mixing with the salty air, making it toxic. My eyes locked with Clara's, panic spiraling within me. "What have you done?" I screamed, unsure whether I was asking her or Valentine. The lines between trust and betrayal blurred into bloodshed. My vision narrowed, each heartbeat punching a rhythm of fear in my chest, as I suddenly saw it all. This wasn't just about an inheritance. It was a war for survival. The figures closed in, my allies. Scattered, and then my world flipped again. Clara turned, eyes burning with fury. "You were never meant to win, you understand?" Everything twisted inside. Every choice I made, every person I trusted, unraveled before me. "Clara," I whispered, shocked, as the truth buried deep in my gut began to claw its way out. But before I could grasp her betrayal fully, she lunged forward, and darkness enveloped me. The weight of the past crushed my spirit, desperation sank deep. I was spiraling into a void, caught in the eye of a storm with my heart racing and doubts echoing in the silence around me. As pain crashed down like a wave, all I could think was this: what now? What had I truly uncovered? And the true question haunted me, echoing even as darkness engulfed everything. Who could I trust now? When the very ground was shifting beneath my feet. The world around me dimmed, darkness closing in as I knelt on the cold pier, clutching my side where the pain radiated like wildfire. I was losing blood, and my breath came in shallow gasps. Panic clawed at my throat. Fear wrapped around my heart, and memories flooded my mind. What had brought me here to this moment of betrayal and chaos? Clara stood frozen, her eyes flickering between anger and fear, uncertainty dripping from her every movement. "What do you mean?" she growled. Her knuckles were white around the gun. I could see the doubt creeping in, shadows dancing in her gaze. Valentine's sneer deepened, his eyes glinting with something cold and dark. "You really don't know the truth about her, do you?" He pointed at me, and the words were like ice shards piercing my already fractured reality. I stared at him, bewildered. "What are you talking about?" My legs felt weak, ready to buckle beneath the weight of revelation, coming from a man I barely trusted. But then it happened. Something shifted. A sound echoed from the dark beyond the pier. Suddenly, all eyes flicked over my shoulder. A car screeched loudly, tires whining as the headlights pierced the fog, creating a massive spotlight in the night. My breath quickened, but I didn't turn. "Don't you see?" Valentine continued, stepping closer. "She's not who you think she is. You've been played." Before I could wrap my head around what he was laying down, everything exploded. A massive green pickup truck stormed onto the pier, barreling toward us like a runaway train. "Get down," Clara shouted, but it was too late. The truck slammed into the railing, wood splintering and flying everywhere. Time seemed to warp. I stumbled back, trying to shield myself as the impact rattled my bones. Chaos erupted. Shrieks filled the air as debris rained down like confetti of despair. I saw Clara and Mark diving to avoid the wreckage while Valentine stood grinning like a madman, unfazed by the carnage around him. I couldn't grasp the scene. The world blurred into a fever dream, and all I could hear was my heart pounding louder than the pulsing chaos. Then, before I could comprehend fully, I spotted figures sprinting out from the shadows of the truck. My heart sank as familiar faces emerged. My father's business associates, people I hadn't seen in years, faces I thought were buried in the past. Their eyes gleamed with malicious intent. They had come for vengeance. "No," I gasped. Panic gripping my heart as I realized the storm wasn't just swirling around me, it was closing in, tightening its grip, as if to crush my world. Valentine laughed, the sound sinister. "Did you think you could just waltz in and take what's ours? They recognize your potential too." Every face in that gathering twisted from familiar into something grotesque. I felt them closing in, a pack of wolves circling, their intentions clear. Betrayal crushed down on me, suffocating in the fog. My family wasn't just tainted, it was a legacy of monsters, and I was standing at the center. An unwitting sacrifice. "Run!" I shouted, desperate. But the wolves were at the door, and I was trapped. The horror behind me lingered, unforgiving. Clara was moving again, scrambling for footing. I could only see her silhouette in a dance of danger. Then came a loud bang. Someone had brought a gun, and gunfire erupted, gunpowder mixing with the salty air, making it toxic. My eyes locked with Clara's, panic spiraling within me. "What have you done?" I screamed, unsure whether I was asking her or Valentine. The lines between trust and betrayal blurred into bloodshed. Valentine stepped forward, a predator circling its prey, and I stumbled back, adrenaline flooding my system. "What do you want?" I shouted, panic tipping my voice into a high pitch. "You've taken everything." Then I noticed the pendant in my trembling hands, limp against my chest. The heirloom I thought was a burden might hold a key. "You think I'm afraid of you?" I hissed, trying to find strength. "This isn't just a necklace, it's everything you want." I threw it to the ground, the clink resounding through the chaos. In that moment, the world fell silent. Clara's eyes went wide, glimmering with sudden interest. "What?" she whispered, the fury faltering. I took a desperate step forward, the heaviness of betrayal still weighing down on me. But in an instant, the shocking truth crashed into our midst. "It doesn't matter," Valentine bellowed, grabbing Clara and pulling her close, his eyes wild with calculated madness. "You're all just pawns. You don't even know whose game you're really playing." I felt my breath catch in my throat. The pieces were falling into place, but they formed a picture I didn't recognize, a web of deceit that wrapped tighter and tighter around my soul. What game? The world was shifting beneath my feet, and I was helpless in the storm, standing at the edge of a cliff where everything I thought I knew crumbled away. "Look at what you've become," Clara shouted, voice raw, pools of regret clouding her eyes. "You think you can just run? You can't escape who you really are." Her words cut deep. A secret? What had I missed? I felt the ground tilt, horror creeping through every nerve in my body, and then the final blow struck, the crushing realization that made my heart sink like a stone. Valentine grinned, something dark sparking in his gaze. "You're not one of us, are you?" He leaned closer, whispers dancing between us. "That pendant? You thought it was your family's legacy? It's a key to a power greater than you can imagine." "Stop," I pleaded, but fear wrecked my voice, leaving nothing but panic. With a swift motion, he grabbed the pendant, holding it up before my shocked eyes. "Your lineage is tied to something much worse than you ever knew." I trembled as darkness loomed, a terrible truth closing in on me. My very identity was at stake, and the secrets were too terrible to comprehend. Then I heard it, a distant rumble, like thunder rolling in fast. "Let's see what you really are," Valentine shouted, and I barely had time to react before he smashed the pendant against the ground. It shattered, shards flying everywhere, glinting ominously. A blinding light erupted from the remains, engulfing us. I instinctively covered my eyes, my heart racing. The force knocked everyone back. Screams, panic, chaos, everything erupted. When the light faded, I looked up, and my breath caught. I was no longer standing on the pier. I was submerged in a dark void, surrounded by shadows. The faces I knew were gone, replaced by swirling shapes whispering, secrets in a language I didn't understand. "Welcome to the truth," a voice echoed, distant yet familiar. "You've unleashed something more powerful than you can comprehend." I felt my world crumbling. Every bond, every promise, everything I believed was shattered in an instant. Had I ever truly known my family? Was Clara even real? "Find the truth, or be consumed by the darkness," the voice taunted, and I was left standing at the edge of uncertainty, my heart pounding, fear mixing with anger. As shadows closed in, gnawing away at my hope, the only thought that screamed in my mind was, what now? What was happening? Everything had twisted so utterly that I was left adrift, lost in a storm of betrayal and lies, desperate for a way back to the light. The chaos faded, leaving only the echoes of what had just transpired. As I knelt on the pier, blood pooling around me, I felt a shift, a moment where everything hung in the balance. The world had changed, and I could sense it deep in my bones. I had fought against betrayal and darkness, and somehow it had all led me to this very moment. Clara's face was twisted in shock, and Valentine's laughter faded into the background as I lifted myself from the ground, swaying slightly. The shards of the pendant glimmered at my feet, remnants of a legacy that had once felt so defining. But I was no longer that naive girl, blinded by dreams. I had witnessed the betrayal, the greed, the emptiness of those I had trusted, and now I was ready to confront it all, head on. "Who do you think you are?" I spat, my voice steady. Despite the fear clawing at my insides, I looked at Clara, fury blazing through the remnants of our shared past. "You thought I wouldn't fight back? That I wouldn't stand against you in your twisted game?" Valentine's grin wavered, but Clara stepped forward, defiance radiating from her every step. "You don't have what it takes. You never did." But a fire burned in me, igniting a determination I hadn't realized was there. "Maybe I don't have it, Clara, but I refuse to let you tear apart what's left of my family, what's left of me." Tension coiled like a snake ready to strike. The darkness around us felt alive, pulsing with unspoken threats and hidden truths. I could hear the soft sound of waves lapping against the pier beneath us, a haunting reminder of the chasm that lay before me. As our eyes locked, I can see the flicker of uncertainty in Clara's gaze. I wasn't sure if it was fear or the recognition of a kindred spirit. Either way, it was enough for me. I felt my heart racing, pounding in my chest like an unrelenting drumbeat. It was now or never. "Enough of this," I shouted, pulling deep from my reserves. The memories of laughter, trust, and pain came flooding back, and I realized that strength doesn't always reside in the hands of the ruthless. It comes from those who refuse to bend under pressure, those who fight for something greater than themselves. With a sudden rush of adrenaline, I lunged at Clara, grappling for the gun she still clutched. In that heart-stopping moment, everything I'd ever feared surged forth. My family, my legacy, my very identity. But I anchored myself in one profound truth. I could no longer be a pawn in someone else's game. The gun went off. A deafening crack echoed through the night, and time froze. Clara gasped, and I felt a surge of hope blooming in my chest. A chance to reclaim my life, to end the turmoil once and for all. As the sound died out, I stood there breathing heavily, taking in the weight of what had just happened. Clara's frame slumped, and I knew that everything we had shared had been built on lies. The betrayal hurt more than the bullet ever could. I took a shuddering breath, steadied myself, and faced Valentine. His laughter faded, replaced by a shadow of fear that crossed his face. "You'll regret this." But deep down, I knew this was my moment. I wouldn't be dragged under again. I had risen from the ashes, forged from every ounce of pain and betrayal. My heart surged with newfound resolve. "You'll never take anything from me again." And with that, I turned my back on the chaos, disappearing into the shadows of the night. Though the storm still raged in my heart, I knew I had won a battle, even if the war was far from over. Trust was broken, but the journey had just begun. Life would never be the same, but I was ready for what lay ahead. And before you go, listen up. You must subscribe now so you don't miss out on the upcoming exclusive stories. We have so much more in store for you. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to boost the algorithm and help this channel grow. Flood the comments with your reactions, theories, and thoughts about this ending. Your voice matters. Let us hear from you. And don't forget to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to experience this unforgettable finale. Don't wait one more second to spread the word. Stay on the channel after watching. Don't leave yet. There's a new thrilling adventure waiting for you at the end of this video, so dive right into the next chapter. And remember, you can unlock a premium story group membership for an ultimate experience. Gain early access to all videos, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and watch everything ad-free. Just find that special link in the comments, complete the payment, and prepare to dive deeper into the world of raw, unforgettable stories. Join us and be part of this amazing journey, because the best is yet to come.